right, welcome back to this week's COD Fun. I'm here with Memphis and Gavin.
We're going to be talking about Ark Survival Evolved, which had released in June 2nd of 2015 and had released on a plethora of different devices like the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, even had a mobile.
Which mobile is so crazy to me that they're, because it was like 100-something gigabytes on Xbox. And I don't know what they took out of it. I never played the mobile version, but they had to take a lot of content out of it probably for it to fit on mobile, I'd imagine.
Yeah, most people's first experience with Ark is just getting the loading screen and hearing that same music that probably just gets blasted through your TV via some reason. The beginning part is not like to your audio settings, and then it will fix itself after the intro cinematic, and then you're at the main menu. Now, we're going to cover a little bit about the game, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Primitive Plus, the forgotten free add-on practically to Ark Survival Evolved, and then just talk a little bit about the game in addition to that. One of the first things you see when you load up the world called the Island, you just wake up. Well, of course, this is after character creation, which going into character creation with it's freaking bonkers.
It's so crazy what you can do with your character. It's fun because there's so much customization.
You can make some of the most offensive-looking things possible, or you can make a genuinely decent-looking character.
I always make my characters vulgar, unpleasant to be around.
That's just one of the starting parts, of course. Now, after making whatever kind of character you so decide, you awaken on this beach, and you look up at your arm, you see this weird stone in your left arm, and you scratch, and you're like, oh. You walk around, you collect stuff, you start gaining XP, and it's just the part of the game. Collecting resources, getting a base started, and then, of course, later on, dino taming is a big part of the game.
Well, I was taming dinos before I had a base. So
it all depends on what,
you
especially your first night, you're either going to be running in fear or you're going to have a really nice place to stay that night. And then you also got to deal with temperature, too, which it's an interesting element to work with.
It's an annoying element to work with.
Yeah, there's a thing you can put your skills into. It's like temperate or something like that helps you with temperature and your fortitude towards it. Now, every time you level up, you get a skill point to put into stuff like health, stamina, carry weight, oxygen, movement speed, crafting skill, fortitude. And I got a feeling I'm missing one of them. But that's the melee damage too. But I think that's all off the top of my head that I can recall.
What I like to do is I was only playing games with my brothers. We make our own worlds, and we set it up where the XP gain was way higher, and that the amount of stat points you get per level was way higher. And if you invest all of that into running speed, you can get it to where you're running across the map in a couple of seconds, and it's fun.
There's some ideas that are just genuinely bad, like pumping all of your skill points into movement speed. It's good to have a decent amount of points in movement speed. I will full on admit that. When you have a T-Rex chasing after you, and you hope to God that it's going to get your friend behind you and not you. You could say the philosophy of you just got to be faster than the person next to you works really well in Ark. Now, one of the first aggressive dinosaurs you're going to fight is the Dilophosaurus. Sucker does a decent amount of damage. You want to try to hit at it with range, which one of the things when you level up and then you allocate your perk points into stuff, you then have a certain amount of engram points, and then you can work with those engram points into recipes you unlock throughout the game. And each level unlocks a new line of recipes, which then you can purchase with those engram points that you get through leveling up.
I want a love-hate basis to that. I like that you can't just immediately make everything, but also we're like, I can make this, but I need to wait to make this, and then it just gets to be a little tedious.
Going back to what we always say, any game is better with friends. Ark is one of those to where if you had a really good group of friends, you guys could allocate how you're setting things up, set tasks.
Or you can absolutely troll and blow up the bases and throw a dinosaur down them and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's also cannibalism, but we won't get too far into that one.
Pooping in people's bases and stuff.
Yeah, that's going a bit off the walls here, but the poop mechanic is something that can be genuinely helpful. Just don't eat it. It's not good.
per usual, you know, it's not good.
Now, of course, plants, they take a while, but there's certain plants when you pick up, like these little bushes and stuff, you can get berries and then at the occasion plant seeds, which then you can get planters that you make and then plant the stuff. Then you got to set up the irrigation and then fertilizer. So that's where the poop comes in. It isn't just us talking off the walls here. It has legitimate use, surprisingly.
I just eat it.
Yeah. Another thing, so just going back to talking about the introduction to the game. So yeah, your first night, you're either going to be running in fear or you're going to be at a place that you like. And one of the first few things you can make is a torch, hatchet, pickaxe, campfire, and then maybe some clothes if you're lucky enough.
Yeah.
It's just how the recipes work, because I believe clothing you unlock at level 3. And it's just, there's no true guidance on where to go. You just gotta explore. You'll find these explorer's notes, which tell you the lore about the world, which the lore of Ark, it is off the walls to say the least. I don't know too much on it. There are plenty of videos out there that could full on explain how that works. But yeah, with the island, of course, this is just one of the arcs. It's the starting map, everybody has it. Now there's these thing called custom arcs, like you'll see the center, the Crystal Isles, Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
They're just fun worlds. They don't exactly have a story per se. I know they have explorers. Some of them have explorers notes. I think all of them have bosses. Which that's something that later on the line we won't go too much into.
Bosses suck.
Yeah, the bosses... This is where Ark, I would say, was not thought with playing just by yourself. You really need other people. It's either that or you gotta match a crap ton of dinosaurs. Dino taming, one of the biggest things in the game. Now, another thing, too, that you can make is narcotics. So, when you have... Because you also gotta keep track of your food and water, so then your meat can spoil. And then you can use those spoiled meats with narco berries, create narcotics, then make tipped arrows, and you see how it works.
I love that you can just club the dinosaur down to tame it. You just like beat the garbage out of it.
Yeah, some of them you can't pull that off with a lot of lesser dinos, which is why you got to be careful. If you pump up your melee damage too high, you might just instantly kill most dinos. Now, one of the more friendlier of the dinos, unless you hit it, the dodo bird.
First time on my teams.
Yeah, one of the easiest tames to work off of. It's simplistic and drops eggs every so often. It's a nice tame to work with. They're somewhat plentiful. Early game, it's an easy way to get hide and meat, but then you start going up to the more aggressive fauna if you're ballsy enough. Then just as you're working your way up through the materials, like you'll get iron, which then you stick in a refining forge. Then you use the iron ingots towards stuff. Eventually you can make guns, and then there's so much more to this game. It's more than just a survival dinosaur game at the end of the day. But the nice part is nothing's forcing you to just go all ahead. You can play the game like it's just some dinosaur game.
Yeah, no, and that's what's very nice. You can play at your own pace. You can just, focus on getting dinosaurs or focus on building a base. And, there's no, actual, time progression.
Yeah, everything is set by how you want to do things. Now, of course, the element of having friends. I don't have too much experience with the online sphere. Gavin doesn't have much either.
Outside I play my brothers, I don't really play much.
The biggest thing with Ark is it has this system. It's like Rust in a way with the online.
Oh, and raiding.
Raiding people and stuff. Your bases decay over time. Ark, one of the aspects I don't like about it, which I understand why they do this, is that your stuff will decay over time. You always got to be paranoid of when somebody's going to break your stuff down or steal your stuff, this and that. And it makes you get into this, I have to get on kind of mentality. I personally dislike that. I like games where I can just pick them up and, like Skyrim's a strange example, but it is an example. Subnautica, Red Dead 2, not talking about the online, but story mode. Just so many games where you don't feel like you're obligated to get on because it feels like another job. You know what, gaming I felt like was supposed to be a break from reality, not another thing. But,
yeah.
there's plenty of people out there that love that aspect of Ark. Now, of course, when you're playing on a solo player world, you can also invite friends onto there and just have some fun. As we brought up, you control your friends, you can smack them in the head with a wooden club and drag them in a cage. You can force feed them narcotic berries.
Or human meat or poop.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do.
Throw poop at them. Throw stones at them.
So it's a beautiful game. Now, there is a lot of DLC maps, like Extinction, Aberration, Scorched Earth, Genesis Part 1 and 2. And they're all interesting in their own way.
I tried Scorched Earth once. I played it for maybe 30 minutes and got off of it because that just wasn't fun. But I was playing by myself, so.
Yeah, from what I know about Scorched Earth now, I've only played a little bit of it. I got a bit of a story here. It was with me and my stepbrother. We were playing on Scorched Earth, and we were both getting to dehydration. So there's these things called water bugs on that map. And we were both about to die. So I ran off into the distance, got lucky enough. I killed one of them and then drank from it. I started charging over to him, dragging the thing, and then he collapsed and instantly died right as I got over to him. So it's goofy stories like that that just make the game fun to play. Like I said, it's a game that I personally would say it's so much better when you have other people on with you. It's just the nature of it. Yeah. Got anything else to add?
I have nothing.
Okay. Well, that is going to wrap us up for this week's episode of COD Fun. We're glad to have you here.